John Broughton on 3SER KC Radio. Hey, this is Glenn Cardier, celebrating 20 years of Retrospectives with John Broughton on 3SER KC Radio.
Who were the first songwriters to inspire you to want to write songs yourself?
I reckon Jerry Lieber and Mike Stoller would have to be on the list. Because they wrote for Elvis. And I think Elvis, was somebody who really influenced me. But I didn't know of them then. It was just Elvis singing, You're So Square, Baby, I Don't Care, and Jailhouse Rock and all those great songs. So I'm a child of the 50s, I guess, and sort of growing up, that was the music that I sort of listened to. And the other one was Chuck Berry. He was a really big influence, and once again, I wasn't that aware that a song was being written. They were just kind of bits of artifacts, bits of music that you listen to.
Now, before you went down that singer-songwriter path, I believe you were in a band called The Revolution, is that right?
That was in the 60s. Yeah, that's exactly right. It was a three-piece band, and when it was around about the time of the Cream and Hendrix and Psychedelia in Brisbane, and I think we did pretty well in the Hoadley's Battle of the Sound in Brisbane around about that time. And I was playing lead guitar, so I had a Fender Strat, and even then I was writing a couple of originals in that style with the band, but it was mainly a covers band of Cream, Hendrix, that sort of stuff, right. Rolling Stones.
But that was the first stages of your songwriting in that band.
Well, no, I can go back earlier than that. Back to the surf era. I was writing surfing instrumentals in the late 50s, Shadows style songs. I started out writing instrumentals in the style of Hank B. Marvin. And I tell the story on stage that they made me lead guitar because I was blind as a bat and used to wear horn-rimmed glasses, so that made me lead guitarist. Before the Revolution, there was a band called The Profiles, which was very Shadows-like. And I still love surf music to this day. I try to collect old surf records, and I love listening to that style of music, but with the drenched in reverb and echo and all that kind of stuff.
Now, you come to attention during the early 70s, very much around that time, all the outdoor festivals and all that. But there was very much a band-orientated scene at that time. We weren't over-endowed with singer-songwriters. Was it hard to compete?
It was a little hard. I remember coming back from a gig, and I was in the back of a truck, and with all the gear, and there was a whole lot of us in the truck, and it was a band. There was a band called Home. I think Glenn Mason was in that band. Yeah. And I was supporting them, and I think it was in Canberra somewhere. And they'd, I came out first, and I did my heartfelt, folky tunes on a nylon string guitar with a microphone sort of shoved in front of it, and I'm not sure if it was all that loud, and the crowd, they were ready to boogie, and Home came on and they did pretty well, and I thought, on the way back, I thought, I really have to think about writing a couple of tunes that are a little bit more energetic. And I think I wrote a song called The Iridescent Pink Sock Blues on the way home, which was a 50s pastiche sort of style of song. And it was from there that I started to be able to compete. And then they developed the Ovation guitar, which had a pickup in it. And I was able to sort of, compete seriously with sort of volume-wise, just being a solo act. Yeah. And I toured with Sherbet and, the La-Di-Das as a solo act. And I was able to sort of get the volume up and be a bit more accessible, I suppose, to those sorts of rock crowds. I played Sunbre and places like that.
Yeah. You played at two of the Sunbre festivals, didn't you?
I did, yeah. I think it was the first two. I'm not... You're testing my memory, John. But yeah, Yeah, I believe it was the first two Sunbres.
Any standout memories of those?
I don't know, playing to 20,000 naked people. Trying to remember the lyrics, you know. But yeah, and it was dusty. It was you know, you listen to Pete Townsend talk about Woodstock. At the time, it's kind of like just another gig, you know.
Yeah.
But a big one, and maybe you got a sense of, well, this is a really, you know, huge crowd and all that kind of stuff. But no, not really. I mean, Thorpe was the king of, I think, one of the Sunbres I played at, and I remember, you know, sharing a car with him around Sydney, and he was listening to the radio, and he could hear, we were listening to one of his tracks, and he said, that sounds wrong. And I was saying, look, sounds pretty good to me, Bill. But he was saying, no, there's something wrong with that. And he was getting angry and angry. And it turned out the radio station was playing the track. They were supposed to be playing it at 45 RPM, and they were playing it at 48 because they did all that. They played them quicker so that they could fit more ads in.
That's right, yeah. You were one of quite a few musicians to receive an Arts Council grant from the Whitlam government.
That's right.
Yeah. How easy was that to obtain, or was it a stringent procedure to go through?
Yeah, it was pretty tough. A lot of paperwork, as I recall, and I had some people in my corner kind of helping me with all that, because I was a bit naive about the whole process. But I really was keen to go to the UK and you know, explore the folk scene over there. I'd heard about all the folk clubs in the UK, and you know, there was the occasional gig here, but I really did want to go over there and play, and I'm kind of glad I did, because I played many folk clubs over there, and not many of them had PAs at all. You know, we're really used to PAs and sound and everything now, but you know, you pretty much just had to stand up in front of a crowd with a guitar and really entertain, because I mean, every week they had somebody pretty special. I mean, you had Paul Simon going around, and you know, Billy Connolly, and you know, Fairport, and lots of people were doing that folk circuit. June Tabor, and you know, all of them. And I guess that, you know, I really learnt a lot while I was over there on that travel grant.
Sure. So it was always going to be England. You never had any thoughts of America or anywhere else? No,
it was at that time when the you know, the trip back to the mother country was still happening. You know, there was I listened to Clive James talk about it, and people like that. You know, it was just one of those things that Aussies seemed to do. I mean, later on, I think like with the Little River Band, people like that, the smart move was America.
Yeah.
And it was later on that I became sort of smitten with earlier styles of Americana, like, you know, rockabilly and blues, and I was exploring those styles of music, but I hadn't been to the States at that stage. Did you find it a welcoming musical community in England when you got there? It was pretty tough to sort of get into, but I was managed by a guy called Peter Gormley, who managed Cliff and the Shads. Amazingly enough, I got to meet my heroes, and he also managed a guy called Labby Sifri, and Labby was responsible for that tune, "It Must Be Love, Love, Love," which you hear a couple of times a year on different ads and things like that. He wrote that, and he was able to retire on that. He lived in a thatched cottage, and he produced my album over there. They decided to record me over there, and so I did my third vinyl record in the UK, and the musos. It was great to have you know, Brian Bennett, who played for the Shadows on drums, and Roy Wood from Wizard played sax on one of the tracks, and you know, I was just standing there with my eyes open and my mouth open, going, "Wow, this is fantastic."
What about those old vinyl records of yours? Do you still listen to them from time to time?
Well, I don't have a record player, but I've got them on I've got CD copies of them.
Yeah.
And I went back and I had to listen to the UK one because people often request songs from that record at my shows. And, it had been 20, 30 years since I'd played them.
Yeah.
And while I could sort of vaguely remember them, there's the occasional line that just doesn't hang in there. So I had to go back and just revisit Claudius Come Home, which is one that people request. And Butterfly Net from Only When I Laugh is another request. And so, I've been recently sort of just throwing in the occasional song from the 70s for those folks, but really there's not I get the occasional inquiry on the internet, but most people are interested in the CD Glenn Cardier, which is after the 25-year break.
Yeah. Something not many would know about you is that you performed on the B-side to that famous cricket anthem, Come On Aussie, Come On.
I did. And it was I did it under a pseudonym because I wasn't signed to the company that brought it out. It came out on WEA, I think, and I was with Festival, and they did a deal where I could do that. A friend of mine was putting the project together, and he worked for WEA, and he said, we've got Mojo, Come On Aussie, Come On, we're going to edit it together and make it a 3-minute single. They're way too busy to make a lot of money. They won't do a B-side. They need a B-side, and we need it tomorrow. And they rang me because I guess they knew I could sort of write pretty quickly, and I said, well, give me 10 minutes, and I sat down and I wrote a song called Establishment Blues, which is a calypso sort of thing, and I just rang back and said, yeah, I got something, and we went over to I think it was Earth Media at North Sydney, and laid the whole thing down in a couple of hours, and then it was out the week later. And I mean, you talk about B-sides now. I mean, a lot of people don't realise what a B-side is.
No, that's true.
But if you get a song on the B-side, it sells 100,000 copies too.
That's right.
Even though, nobody's heard it, and it attracts royalties. So, I mean, it was quite a nice business venture to be involved in, and they called me Sydney Hill, and I enjoyed the whole experience.
You got the opportunity to tour some wonderful artists over the years, one of them being Spike Milligan. That must have been a fantastic experience for you.
Well, yeah, it was. I mean, I was on tour with him for 6 months, and it was a sort of a non-stop Spike Fest, and recently some people were putting together a DVD on his life, and they'd heard along the line that I'd actually, performed with Spike, and they contacted me and they said, you're Glenn Cardier, and I said, yeah, and they said, well, what's your connection with Spike? And I said, well, I spent 6 months with him day after day, and I guess they felt that I was a Spike survivor, and I qualified to be part of their project. So I actually, if you see their DVD, I think it's called I Told You I Was Ill.
Oh, yeah.
And they've used some of my music in that, and I think it fits pretty well. There's a song called Free to Fly. It was a crazy tour. I mean, Spike wasn't well. He had his ups and downs, and the ups were very high and the downs were very low, and so it was a bit of a roller coaster. But there were some glorious shows, and Carl Vine played piano, and I did some songs, and the three of us were on stage the whole time with Spike, and he did his one-man show with two others, kind of thing.
Uh-huh. Someone else you toured with was Frank Zappa, and I believe his band gave you virtually your own private concert during a sound check one night.
Exactly, yeah. Well, I was waiting for my sound check. So I was a bit miffed, but there was they kept me waiting from about 2 in the afternoon to about 7:30 when the doors opened for the Horton Pavilion, and I didn't get my sound check. But what happened was I was just sitting there, and he was working that band really hard. I mean, his rehearsals were full-on shows, and he would be doing new material as well as stuff for that night. And he'd have, because he had all the scores there, and the musicians were playing it. And I think I was just sitting there, and probably the occasional roadie there, and I just saw the whole thing. It was the most amazing experience.
Now let's talk about the extended break that you had, the 25 years, or was it 25?
Yeah, 25 years. I mean, 25 years not performing as Glenn Cardier. I mean, I was still, playing the guitar, playing a bit of rockabilly. I built a studio here. I live on the Hawkesbury River here in Sydney, and put it in a studio and recorded a few things. I helped out other people with recording projects as a producer,
right?
And learnt my production skills, I guess, through that. But so really, when you talk about a break, I Glenn Cardier disappeared from stage, and I guess the plan was that because I was really tired of being on the road, that I could be in the studio writing hit songs for other people, and I could kick back and let it all happen. But the stuff I write is it's quirky, it's not hit material. It's and I guess that's a good thing,
Yeah.
And so after 25 years, I think I got sick of it. I'm a slow learner. I just thought, the only person stupid enough to sing these songs is me. I was writing a few new ones, and I thought, I'm gonna start playing again, and I did, and it was great.
So was it ever your intent in the beginning to be away from the stage for that long?
No, the scene kind of changed, because I'd come back. I did come back from overseas, and I did the Spike Milligan tour, and I did a few concerts, and there wasn't much happening. I formed a rock band, and during that great time when the Midnight Oil and In Excess and Metal As Anything all came out, that I think it was the 80s.
Yeah.
The 80s. And I was in a band called the Bel Airs, and I was writing my own stuff for them, and it was a good little band. And one day I might bring out some of the stuff that band used to do, and it was through that I also learned a lot about rhythm sections and arrangements, because on the latest, on the CDs that I do now, I've sort of arranged them all myself and played all the instruments. So that wasn't a skill that I had in the early 70s at all. I was just a folk singer, I guess.
Would you call it now the break you had to have? Where do you think you'd be now if you hadn't taken that time off?
Yeah, I think it was. I guess I was a bit disillusioned with everything, and I'm really enjoying. And as a writer, I would just follow the muse back in the 70s, and I still do now. It seems sometimes that when the best songs are written now, I write them in a way that I used to write, back in the 60s, which is just, you don't really care about trends or pleasing anybody. The song itself is giving itself some form, and you're helping it out, and all of a sudden you've got a song. But, however, in the editing process and when you're putting it together, I think that now I have some skills in being able to put that song together and being able to present it in a way that's far more accessible than I used to back in the 70s.
So, how was the feeling first time back up on the stage doing your own stuff again?
I was nervous.
Yeah.
I'd lost a lot of I didn't have a lot of guitar chops. I hadn't played acoustic guitar for a long time, and I realised pretty soon that I had, if I was going to do the festival circuit now, I had to, the guitar had to sound pretty good, and the voice had to sound good, and the songs were interesting and all that kind of stuff, and I had to really put an act together. So I had to sort of, teach myself guitar again, a friend of mine was running open mic nights at the Excelsior Hotel in Sydney on Tuesday nights, and anybody could come down and play 3 songs. And I rang him up and I said, you know, I'd like to come down and play some of my new songs that I've just written, and he was delighted. And I sort of used to go down every week and just do, you know, 3 more new songs that I'd written, and I gradually started to pull it together. But it was very difficult, and I just assumed that, you know, people would know what I did in the 70s. You know, it was like they've been waiting 25 years to see me again, and I was dead wrong about that. So, you know, I just had to put a whole new show together.
Yeah. Was it like, going back in recording again, was it like more or less starting your career all over again?
Yeah, absolutely, and that was part of the plan, because unlike my friends, say, you know, Ross Ryan, who had I Am Pegasus, and Doug Ashdown, who had Winter in America, I never had a hit record, and I just had a kind of reputation for putting on, you know, reasonably interesting live shows with that sort of sardonic sense of humour, and I don't know if there were that many other Aussie writers at that time that sort of used the humour as well as the biting satire. Mm-hmm. I think probably that was my little corner, and so I didn't have a hit record, and so I said, okay, I don't care, I'll just start again. So really, it was like somebody said, just a brand new coming out. I mean, a lot of people had never heard of me before, and I wasn't trading in on the Glenn Cardier name. Certainly, a lot of people who come to the festivals vaguely heard of me, or might know of me. Some seek me out. Yeah. But really, I was building a whole new audience, and that's a lot harder. But in some ways, I'm not unhappy about the fact that they're all coming along waiting to listen to me play my hit. Because that can be a little difficult. That can present its own problems too.
Yeah, true. Yeah. There seems to be a stronger blues element to your music these days than before. Is that a music form you've grown to discover over the period you've been away?
Yeah. I went to the States for a visit, and went to Memphis, and I've always loved Howlin' Wolf and Muddy Waters and guys like that, and I don't even pretend to be in that zone. But part of the guitar thing was to get into open tunings and present a song in a very aggressive way, as well as the songs that are, the very delicate ones. I had these very aggressive intentions, and the blues and the rockabilly sort of style of music suited my sort of limited guitar technique. Mm-hmm. And so I was I've got a lot of songs that are where I strum very hard, and the voice has lost its delicate nature, as you might have heard over the years too. and so it's a style of presentation that I'm totally comfortable with, but I'm not a blues singer, but I do enjoy putting together those colours, the blues colours, the rockabilly colours, the folk colours in a particular song, and presenting it with that particular arrangement. Mm-hmm. So using a Hammond organ as well to colour things up, or a piano accordion, and slide guitar and electric guitar. I love those instruments when they sort of come together.
Do you think your on stage persona is different this time around?
I can't answer. I don't know if I can answer that one. No? I think there's certain elements to the songs that I write now that are similar to in the songs in the 70s. I think the humor is still the same. The presentation, I don't know if it's all that much different. I think it's probably a better show now, because back in those days you got on stage and sometimes you just tuned up and talked to the people, and it wasn't so I wasn't so concerned about, the stories and things like that. But I've got a lot of stories to tell now, and I think that's one of the things that works pretty well. Excuse me. I got the Sydney lurgy.
Oh, it's down here too, don't worry.
Yeah.
I bet your songwriting method are you going about that differently these days than in the past?
No, the best songs are still written in the same way, and that is that I'm kind of just noodling away on the guitar, and all of a sudden something insists itself upon me, and I start writing a song. It mightn't have lyrics, but it has a certain shape to it, and I think that probably lyric-wise, I'm enjoying, as somebody in their 50s, I'm really enjoying writing lyrics these days. I think that probably it was very much a hit and miss affair when I was younger. But now, I consider every word, and I really enjoy putting a song together.
Do you think you have a better control over your career now? I guess doing it independently, is it a good time to be independent?
Yes, it is. Yeah. Well, with the internet.
Yeah.
Sure. When I decided to do the first CD, it was mainly just a little project that I wanted to do for myself and my loved ones, and that was Rattle the Cage. Mm-hmm. And I didn't have a barcode or anything on it. I just got them pressed up. I had to ring people to find out how to do it and how to get it mastered and all that sort of stuff. And it somehow, the ABC got hold of it, and somebody in there put a couple of tracks on their sampler. It went round to all the ABC stations. Darwin ABC picked it up, made it Record of the Week, and a whole bunch of other stations sort of picked up on it. And I think Darwin, that was the place that things really kicked off, and people just kept ringing the station, pestering them, and it was Darwin ABC that sent me an email saying, we get requests for your stuff all day long. We even get people from record stores wanting to know who you are, because people have been coming into their stores asking for the Glenn Cardier record. Don't you think you should get some stock up here? So that was the beginning of it all. Right. And I like it. I'm probably making more money independent now, selling less records.
Yeah.
Than I was, when I was with Festival.
Any regrets at all, Glenn? Anything if you could go back and change, you would?
Well, 2020 hindsight. No, I don't. No, because I'm always looking to the next song, and I think the stuff that I'm writing now is pretty strong, and I think probably I had regrets prior to deciding to step back on stage, because there was so much promise there in the 70s, and then it kind of all fell apart, and I thought, well, I'm not going to bother with that. But I started going to I went to the occasional blues festival, and I was talking to my wife Caroline, and she hadn't had much knowledge of that scene, and I said to her, I used to do that, and she said, really? And I said, yeah, and I thought, I wonder if I could actually get up there and play some songs again, and that was one of the other reasons why I thought I'd decide to start playing again.
Yeah. And just to finish up, what's in the books now? What are the upcoming plans for this year?
The new CD is done.
Oh, great!
It's the artwork's done. It's been mastered. I was going to bring it out once again, independently. I'm really happy with it, and the people that have close to me who have heard it are all wildly excited about it. But there's a couple of record companies interested also, and I'm not sure what their intentions are, and I'm waiting to see, and that's why it's been dragging on. But I'm a bit nervous about getting back to being locked back in a situation that I spent so long getting out of.
Yeah.
But I'll wait to see what they have to say, and I'll weigh things up, but most likely I think the new CD, which is called Exiles from Eden, will probably come out, sometime soon. And there's 14 tracks on it, and I'm very happy with the arrangements and all the songs. Every song I really considered fully, and I made sure was done to the best of my ability. So I'll get you one when it comes out, mate.
That would be great. Yeah, I might even actually hold on to this interview and put it all to air to coincide.
Yeah, well,
That'd be good.
I'm just waiting to hear from Liberation Blue. If they don't bring me back, then I'll just go ahead and I'll just get them pressed up again. I'm really happy to do it that way because I've spent the last 2 CDs breaking ground. It's probably silly not to do it. So,
yeah.
So that's what I've got planned now. I've just finished a couple of gigs with Ross Ryan and Phil Manning down in the Broughton.
Oh, you heard about those? How'd they go?
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
And it's so much fun. We've all been sort of around the block a few times, and it wasn't that hard. I mean, we were kind of a bit nervous about it, but in the end, we all had a sense of what a show. It's really strange that you have a sense of what a show should be like. So if somebody played a certain song, then the next person would choose a song that would complement that. And we bounced off each other. We were, it was a funny night. It was a great night, and we're talking about perhaps doing more shows, the three of us, talking about the songwriting process, and it worked really well. So yeah, look forward to that one.
Oh, brilliant. Well, Glenn, thanks so much for your time.
You're welcome, John.
It's been a treat to catch up with you. Great to have you back on the scene again, and congratulations on a whole new career reborn.
I'll keep you in touch with what happens.
That would be fantastic.
Cheers, mate.
All the best.
Bye-bye.
Bye.